Alright guys, this is SlipKuik Wax. I'm Shaun Wundrack and this is my partner Danny Gilbert. SlipKuik Wax, what we strive to do is develop a product for skiers and snowboarders that allows you to conveniently wax your equipment. We currently work out of our apartment in East Williamsburg. We just started a few months ago and we've been developing and working with different waxes to come up with a module that will allow this to work. And what we plan on doing is having a sheet of wax that is on a piece of plastic that what you would do is you would take the plastic off and you would adhere it to your snowboard. The wax would come with something that allows you to trim off the excess, so this is a one size fits all. And what we plan on doing with that is to allow skiers and snowboarders to more tangibly and easily wax their equipment. The team consists of Dan Gilbert and Shaun Wundrack. Danny Gilbert is a senior at Pace University. He's currently studying entrepreneurship, and he is also a part of National Ski Patrol. I'm also a senior at Pace University, and I've been snowboarding for about 10 years of my life. This idea came to me one day as I was waxing my board. You know, it took me about an hour just to set up everything, hot irons, a lot of mess and stuff like that. So it was easy for me to conceptualize something that would allow this to be cheaper than a conventional professional shop that you could go to, something that you could do it by yourself, something that's cheap. It is actually a little more expensive than going out and buying the wax and doing it yourself, because this is all about convenience for us. So presently we're working all of the things out with just us. And we don't really have a good price model, but what we are planning on doing is selling 3 bundles of wax, 3 sheets of this wax that you could adhere to your snowboard. Our motto is going to be peel, stick, and ride, because that's essentially what we would like to do. The bundles would be for $9.99, which you could wax your equipment 3 times each. Each packaging would have something that allows you, like a plastic sharp edge to trim your board, as I said before. Our main ingredient, we're not going to tell you exactly what we use to make the wax, because different waxes have different malleables and different tangibles that allow it to be more sticky and more, that allow it to be better in like cold weather, warm weather, and stuff like that. But the base of it is paraffin, and that's just normal wax. It costs about $6 for a pound of it. We can make several products using just that 1 pound. We can make several sheets, because the sheets are only a few millimeters thick. Approximately 5 is what our goals hope to be.
Wait, so maybe you're gonna get this later. So the $10 for a bundle of 3. What's your fully loaded cost? Do you think then? Not just paraffin, but everything else. What do you?
Well, like I said, we haven't really done anything other than try and create this product and implement it.
Okay.
So there is really no overhead cost. We're working out of our apartment. We're using like the stuff that we have already to put it out there. And if it comes to the point, we do have a more in-depth implementation plan in which we will go out and contact like larger corporations, people who have dealt with wax before, stuff like that, in order to process this. Right now we have a very basic model that it doesn't allow us to get the wax completely flat all the time. There's air bubbles. Sometimes this wax is more sticky, even though we had made this wax and we've experimented. But essentially it would just be 3 pieces of wax, 3 long sheets that you could adhere to your board for $9.99.
The point is that all the materials are very cheap, and there's not a lot of cost associated with it.
So I'm not a skier nor a snowboarder, so I don't have the context for this. When you wax your skis today, what does it cost you?
Okay, so there's a few ways you could go about waxing your equipment. The first, you could go out and you could buy a bar of wax, just standard paraffin, for about $3. Now what you would have to do is, you would have to sit down with your equipment, you would have to grind the wax onto it, then you would have to take like a flat edge, go over it to get most of the bumps off, then you would melt it down, and then on top of that you would have to buff it out to get the wax surface completely flat. In the past it's taken me anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to do it myself. I've also gone to professional ski shops. They charge you upwards of $50. There's long waiting periods, 3 days, a week. If more people are coming in, it could be potentially a disaster. If you want to get up and you just got 2 feet of fresh powder outside, you want to hit the slopes, you know, you could just slap this on your board and go. You don't have to worry about sticking to the snow, you don't have to worry about any rails or ledges or anything that might keep you up or keep your equipment from not working properly.
How often do you have to replant?
Well, that's the thing. We did do market research, and that'll come up a little bit later. But the main thing that we found out is that most people do not take proper care of their equipment. So these people don't wax their boards to begin with. So personally, I would wax my board every like 3 to 5 days. So it's something that's continuous if you
3 to
keep
5
up.
days of use?
Right. So it's something that's continuous if you keep up with it. But like I said, from our survey, it didn't project that.
And how long does it take to wax the board with your system?
Within minutes. Our motto is peel, stick, ride, and what we plan on doing, and the models that we've come up with, is pretty much the wax is on a sheet of plastic. You would unroll it, alright, it would be more tangible so it doesn't crack and it's pliable, and you would peel the wax off, you would stick it right on the snowboard, and then you would just cut around the edges so that way the metal edging doesn't have wax on it, and so that way everything could just stay on the snowboard. Part of the problem right now though is there is no snow to actually go out and test this. So we've tried to have Danny, he has some family and he's part of the National Ski Patrol. We've tried sending it to Colorado, and we've also sent our survey to Colorado in order to see what the swing of thing is, because they've got different geographical snow. Like some people might not realize that, but more wet snow is different than drier snow and like icy snow and granular and stuff like that. The ski hills do themselves.
I know you said you didn't have a lot of science behind this, but where did you come up with these numbers?
Well, that's the actual cost that it costs us to get a pound of paraffin. We ordered it online off of Amazon.
It's a
And
retail price.
right, that's retail.
Yes,
That's not commercial or anything. That's what it cost us to do it. And then we sat there and we melted the wax down, and we came up with the sheet. And we realized, based off that 1 pound of wax could produce several different sheets, that we could just base it and
So
we
what
just tried to
what
do
is it
this.
an actual sheet of? It's a sheet of wax?
It's a sheet of wax,
And
precisely.
how does it hold its form when it gets
Well,
a certain size?
using different things other than paraffin, like mineral oil, Vaseline, there's a crystal and structure wax. Different waxes melt at different temperatures. They have different pliabilities, and some are more pliable than others. And that's currently like what the problem is right now. We realize that our wax will stick to our snowboard, but we're not sure if it'll just peel right off. We're not sure if it'll make it messy from the next one to go on. We don't know how it'll ride on the snow. We don't have any way of actually testing it until the upcoming months.
Have you thought, you were talking about how ski rental shops take all this time and effort, but would they themselves, the ski rental shops or the lodges which have rental, would they be customers themselves?
Yeah, well, actually, we'll talk.
We'll talk about that, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, so that's, the pricing details are just like, it's just an estimated guess of what we would hope to sell it at. The target market would be skiers and snowboarders, ski hills, and ski rental shops. These places and people are people that care about taking proper maintenance to their equipment, and they want to go farther and they want their equipment to last longer. Ski hills have a very big opportunity with this, because many ski hills have rental shops, and many rental shops don't have ski hills, but they rent the same things. So in this aspect, we could market our product to ski hills so they could keep their boards and equipment properly maintained. And if you're sitting there having someone hired to wax a snowboard and it takes them an hour to do one snowboard, and you have an inventory of 1,000 snowboards, that's weeks of work right there without being anything with high costs. So we could sell them our product at a commercial level, in which they'll have somebody easily wax their equipment a lot quicker than they would normally have waxed.
A quick question. Let's assume a ski is 6 foot long.
Okay.
And a snowboard is a bit smaller. Are these sheets the length of the skis? Do they come in a package that big? Are they folded down? Are they rolled up? How is it?
Okay, so what we plan on doing is we plan on making one size so that it does fit all of them. Initially, it was created for snowboarders, we decided to expand it to skiers because of his skiing background. But with snowboarders, there's only like a 30 centimeter gap difference. A board could go from about 140 to about 170, and you're not going to see anything much bigger than that. So if we provide a sheet approximately like 73 inches, that'll be way taller than 160 centimeters, and it'll allow the person to adhere it to the board, and then with that access, they'll be
So
able
it
to.
comes as a long flat,
It comes as a long flat sheet, but it's rolled up, and then as the package, you would unroll it and then peel
as,
stick.
Yeah, we actually have some pictures
so
later
the
of
package
how
size
it's
you
rolled
have.
out.
Right.
Mhm.
And we figured with shipping and with stuff like this, you're not gonna just want one of them, because if it costs $3 to start your own wax and do it yourself, then why would we charge such a high price? Because it's still giving you the conventional wax of a professional shop, but it's taking away the long time that it's there. Alright, and then for the market validation, we had a few market validation points. One of them being the survey. We surveyed a lot of people. We sent out an email to something like 24,000 National Ski Patrol members. Now, our results didn't come anywhere near that, and we didn't put any results in here because we thought that it wasn't proper validation, because it was more along the lines of whether they would use a product like this. And so what it actually showed us from, I think we had 226 people respond.
Yeah, about 1%.
Yeah, we had about like a little less than 1% of the people, and the conclusion that we came to was most of these people don't take proper care of their equipment. The people who did, they said they would be interested, they would use it. It seems quicker, more efficient than wasting the time and spending the additional money than what they would have to in a rental shop.
Do people not take care of their equipment because the do-it-yourself version is too much of a pain and the other version is too expensive?
Well, that's a
Or
good.
they just don't care?
Well, that's a good point. We actually had in our survey as one of the questions, would they take more proper care of their equipment if they had a product like ours? I think it was something like 27% said they would, but the other percent didn't. They don't care. But the thing is skiing and snowboarding, my snowboard and stuff together cost probably around $800. So if you're thinking of spending $10 every week or $10 every 2 weeks to do something that you truly love, it's a fraction of the price of what it actually costs to go out and buy new equipment the next year or a year after that. So it's really worth it to keep up with your equipment.
And the whole thing is that a lot of people don't realize that it's actually, when you wax something, a lot of people do it for speed and for like, to kind of, what would you say, like to,
Control.
yeah, like for control and, you know, to help yourself out with your skiing or snowboarding, but it's actually for protection too. If you go over a rock or something, that layer of wax is there to protect your equipment. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, that's also true. Say your equipment also already has a gouge in it, the wax will be able to fill that to create the flat plane that it offered previously, in which will allow you to just smoothly sail across the snow. Aside from that, we did have somebody approach us. They wanted a 10% share in our company already. Now, we thought that was a little preposterous, and we weren't sure how to take it, so after a few times of talking, we realized that it's too soon. It's too soon for us to actually expand. We need to get the product on the level that we need to.
What was the
What was
offer?
he gonna give you in terms of?
It was actually just like a blank offer. He said, "What would it cost me for a 10% share in your?"
And he was a local entrepreneur that was like from the area that we lived in, that kind of.
Yeah, he has 3 businesses of his own, which aren't really important, but he does care a lot about skiing and snowboarding, and I've known him for a while, but we just weren't ready to take something on like that, to have a partner in something that may or may not go somewhere at this early was just not a good thing.
Interesting. So your reservations were more that you weren't sure you'd be able to return something or have something that.
Well, we had a guest speaker come in, and there's a lot of legality with taking money and receiving money. You know, we're not even an LLC or a partnership or anything like that. We just started a few months ago, so we didn't want to get backed up before we even got something under our feet. Yeah, it'd be cool if someone gave us $5,000-$10,000 to go out and start manufacturing this, but we're both very busy students, and it's not something that we could really take on right now. Aside from that, I worked at Holiday Mountain for about 2.5 years, which is a local ski hill upstate from where we're from. I spoke to the owner, I was good friends with him. He said he would have no problem putting our product into his ski shop at little to no cost at the start of our endeavor. And he also spoke to me and said that if the product does work well, he would consider using it for his personal rental shop in order to maintain his equipment and stuff like that. So that gave us a nice market validation and proved to us that other people are interested. This is someone who's owned this mountain for years, and this is someone who's made a living off of owning 2 ski hills. So I thought that was cool. And then Danny will talk to you about a little bit more about what he's done with Ski Patrol.
So I'm part of the National Ski Patrol, which is a 26,000 member team, and what they basically do is they provide first aid for like skiers and snowboarders at mountains. Most of it's volunteer work. Now the good thing about me being a part of this network is that I could, get a lot of information from people who are like professionals and that know what they're doing with this type of thing. It was pretty beneficial because we were able to like reach a large group. And on top of that, I spoke to my regional director, who was in control of about 15 ski hills in the area, New York and Connecticut and Maine. And she said that she would help us promote a product and try to get it out, and also talk to other ski hills potentially if we got something tangible down the line. According to the National Sporting Goods Association, in 2008 there were 6.5 million skiers and 5.9 million snowboarders. 20% of snowboarders also ski, and conversely 18% of skiers also snowboard. Therefore, total on-slope participants were calculated to be about 10 million. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to get about 10 million people buying our product, but that's the base, so it's a pretty large number.
So US?
Yeah, US.
What percentage of those folks took care of their equipment and?
We really couldn't find any numbers on that. We did have like our own personal survey where I think you said like 26% or so.
I think it was 27% actually.
Yeah.
That was 27%, is that the same 27% you mentioned before?
Right,
Those are the people who didn't today but would with an easier product.
right,
So they're not currently waxing or going to a store.
right. There's potentially 27% of those 10 million people who are more willing to take care of their equipment if there was something like our product on the market.
It's very spontaneous because if someone's going away on vacation, then they're going to want to like get their equipment in tip-top shape, but it's like they might not do it for the rest of the season, per se.
At some point, they have to get it done, whether a binding breaks or something happens, and they're gonna get suggested they're gonna have a wax.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the competitive landscape?
Well, our competitors could be, they could be a wide range of anything. They go from professional ski shops to waxing it yourself. If you could buy a bar of wax and wax your board a few times for $3, it comes into the time. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find the people that don't have the time, they still like to take proper care of their equipment. So these people, they're willing to spend the $10 as opposed to $3 or $5 for a bar of wax, but they're not willing to go to a ski shop and spend $50+ to get it professionally waxed. What we're trying to offer is convenience, something that'll allow you to do it at your own pace, at your own time, within minutes. So that way, like I said before, if you wake up and there's a huge snowstorm, as a kid that was one of my favorite things to do. I'd always want to go hit the hills. But if I don't have the equipment or my board is going to stick and I can't ride the hills, there's no point of going. So this is all about the easiness and the convenience of being able to do it yourself.
Is there a particular brand of wax that's mostly carried, that's the dominant player in the industry?
Yeah, that's actually called Dominator Wax. It's one of the top ones. There's also Swix, Sultra, Bluebird, but none of them really have like anything unique to offer. They're all just like basically whichever one's on sale is which one people are going to buy.
Have you considered approaching them?
We did. We were considering doing that, but going back to what we were originally saying, until we test it out, kind of, we really don't know what they're going to say and like what we could offer them.
And related to that is, do you have patent ideas, aspirations?
Well,
We don't yet, but we actually do have our paraffin, mineral oil, and special sauce mixture, if you guys wanna check it out. It's not in a sheet yet, but that's what we're working on.
So it's a proprietary mixture.
right.
And then what, and then about the vehicle of putting it on the system of applying it?
Well, that's the thing, it should, our goal is to not use any heat or any actual adhesive, so there is more tangible waxes that are just generally tangy, and this wax at first is more tangy, so it's kind of the thing, we have to see if it's gonna be able to stick throughout the course of being used and stuff like that.
Have you consulted with a patent attorney about what elements are patentable?
Well, we did have somebody come into our class and we realized that a few things is one that he said we may have something that is patentable. We'll have our own formula, we'll have our own idea, we have our own name brand, things like that are very patentable. They cost tens of thousands of dollars, upwards of 20 and 30. And he says that because we're so young and because this is such like a new thing and a new endeavor, that we potentially have the risk of somebody looking at that patent or somebody going through it who already has more knowledge about the ski industry, about the wax industry, who could take it, who can manufacture it and do everything a lot quicker than we can, and potentially ruin our business. So we don't want to put a patent out there until we're completely done. We don't want to open it up to the web. We do have a website, SlipKuikWax.com. We have a couple blogs and stuff, but we're not open to the public just yet because we're more afraid of what might come, because we don't have the resources necessary to put it out officially until we have the proper data from like ski hills and testing the product ourselves.
I'm just mindful of the time, it's already a quarter of, and I want to make sure that we have time to hear from the panel, so.
Just a quick few things, I think we just have a few
Go
pictures.
quickly.
We have just a
Yeah,
few
we have a few
pictures.
pictures of us like working on that.
Well, we actually, we first tried to make the wax. We used like a flat piece of wood, and we sat there with like a putty knife trying to come up with a way to get it evenly distributed. And then we thought, what if we took like a plastic tray or something and cut out just a small sample in order for it to work. And this is the picture of Danny actually starting to cut out the mold for it, just a small scale. We have the wax melting in the pot already, and stuff like that.
In order to like really do it, we figured we'd need something with like tens of thousands of pounds of pressure to like get it to the point where we need, because like we weren't really able to really do it at home. That's the wax cooking on the stove.
Can't really see it, but there's wax in there.
It's also showing melting the wax. And that's us spreading it out on the plastic on our door. You can see how rudimentary our manufacturing process is right now. And that's it rolled up in the plastic. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.